Mutashi Wengabo, perhaps I should ask, did you know that you can transform yourself, transform your family, your community, your group, your country, and your continent and the entire world? It's just a decision away. Welcome to Transformation Cracks, a space where we share knowledge, ideas, and strategies on how we may transform this world at different levels. Are you ready to join me?
Yes, my name is Katana Brian. I am glad to be here, and also to know that with the Transformation Clerks, we are here to catalyze, we are here to analyze, we are here to do a deep dive into the aspect of national, personal, community, group, and worldwide transformation.
This journey is worth the effort because for three reasons, everybody needs to transform. There are personal constraints that we give to ourselves, which we need to overcome in order to transform our own lives. There are family level or group level constraints, which we need to overcome to transform and make our lives better. There are constraints at the community or societal level, at the national level, at the global level, which, if overcome, we can make this world a better place to live in. And I will always insist it's about our choice to transform our world.
Yes, so as Transformation Clerks, we invite you in. We invite you to like this channel, share the link, be able to subscribe, share with your friends, and enjoy the show, because from our personal experiences, from various levels of education, we have realized that this is information that we urgently need to share, and we need to share it with you so that we can be able to transform our nation as a way of giving back to our society as individuals, and maybe also you, our viewers, will be able to join us and share with us more of the information that you've gained through this experience of life.
That's true. The more of us like, subscribe, share, comment, and provoke us to share more of our knowledge, ideas, and strategies, the better for the world. I believe the more this conversation saturates, the more it is going to enrich the human experience near and far. And as we go along, we will share concrete ideas on the hows, on the strategies, on the experiences of personal transformation, of family and group transformation, of community transformation, national transformation, and global transformation. And in the process, we are enriching the human race with what we are sharing, what we are learning from them, the comments we are responding to, and the new videos that our viewers may ask us to produce on specific topics related to transformation. There can be negative processes of change, but I think that would be degeneration, right?
So are you trying to say that there can never be transformation if it is negative in sense?
Negative transformation, let's call it a degeneration. Negative changes that take place in a person, in a family, in a community, in a society, we can call them degeneration. For instance, if a society suffered an epidemic, and the epidemic wiped out the social relations or even killed people, we can call it degeneration, we wouldn't call it transformation. If a family, for some reason, acquired ideas, processes, experiences, where it loses its property, it loses its intellectual standing, it loses family relations, or it tears apart, I wouldn't call that transformation. It will be degeneration. So, transformation is that positive, progressive change that takes place in the person, in the community, in the group, in the society, or in the country. So, talking about personal transformation, for example, it is a process of positive change within the life, the thinking, the experiences, the capacities, and productivity of the individual. If transformation, for example, if processes that take place in you are positive, it does not necessarily mean that there may not be negativity, if I can call it, or challenging episodes of experiencing the positive change. For example, if you are shifting from a careless and lazy person to a hardworking and more productive person, the initial experience may be challenging a bit. You possibly have to wake up a bit early in the morning, or you have to change your feeding habits.
Something like you have to maybe fill a paper if you're a student for you to like wake up and
Exactly. You have to fail a paper to wake up, or you have to be triggered by some negative experience. That negative experience that triggers you is not the transformation itself, but it's the trigger. So we should not confuse the trigger of the transformation process, or even the fangs and pangs that you go through when you're transforming, for the transformation itself. The transformation is that process where you can observe progressive changes that are in their nature as incremental but also positive. And that's what we should see as transformation. Either triggered by some internal process, like internal questioning of the values you held, the experiences you have had, the practices you value, into something newer, or some external stimulus, such as a crisis, a loss of a job, or failure of an exam if you're a student, which will then force you to rethink your values, practices, behaviors, and perspectives about the world. Then, after some period of reflection, of thinking, of challenging yourself, or even asking for advice, you begin to change your thoughts, you begin to change your behaviors, you begin to change your practices, and as you change them, they accumulate. As the change accumulates progressively, you realize positive things coming your way. Either your behaviors have changed, or with bad practices you stop them. If, for instance, you were over drinking, you start reducing to drink. Along the way, you even stop drinking. If you were not attentive to your business, to your partnerships, to your studies, you begin to become more attentive, and then you realize that positive outcomes are coming. If you are scoring below 50, you begin to score 100%. if you really are a genius.
is that real?
If you really were a genius, you really, I didn't know I could score 100%.
Yeah, but a certain professor, who I think might be your friend, called Eckhart, seemed to suggest in one of my studies that personal transformation is beyond self. That is beyond self, that it comes when you realize or take awareness of it. What would you have to say about that kind of theorization?
I don't know whether that's what Eckhart says. You become aware of what you need to change. That is the start of the transformation process. Awareness that something in me, in my behaviors, in my practices, in my values, needs to change. That period is a realization of some inadequacy in your person. When you realize an inadequacy, and then you say, I think I need to blah, blah, blah. I think I need to change my ways of looking at the world, change my feeding habits, it means you have realized a crisis. I would call it crisis discovery. When you discover that something is not right in you, and then you start asking, what then can I do? It means you have started the process of transformation.
So in essence, if I'm understanding you right, you're saying that every form of transformation actually begins with a self-awareness or a crisis or a conflict within the internal person that offsets the thinking that now I need to change.
Yes, you are not going to transform unless you have something to question about yourself, about your thoughts, about your experiences, and about your life. Once you realize there is something you need to change about your life, then you have entered a period of crisis. At that point, many things take place. One, you start thinking and questioning the things that you previously didn't question. Two, you start generating ideas by some thinking process, the details of which I don't need to go into, generating ideas about possible alternatives. But then you reach a threshold. When you reach a threshold, the challenge becomes, do I now choose to change this? Or do I remain? That threshold is the process of internal conflict. Because running away from yourself, some other unknown but aspirational self, is a difficult choice. Now, at that point, you have to make a choice. I think I'm going to stop drinking. I think I'm going to stop irresponsible conduct. I think I'm going to start waking up early, or I'm going to start exercising.
So,
The choice is important.
What about the people who actually made, can I call it an unconscious choice? I woke up, I found myself when I am unable to drink anymore.
That would be interesting if there was no aha moment, but there was an unconscious self-discovery into a different state. For example, if you woke up in the morning and all of a sudden you are clairvoyant, you are clairaudient, you can hear things that you didn't hear, you can see things that you didn't see, you can sense or know things that you didn't know before. That could be some spiritual revelation that transformed you. I would consider that a divine transformation that has very limited contribution from your own personal choice. But if you took a step back, you might find that there was a time when you had questions in your mind. Those questions remained unanswered and possibly resided in your subconscious until perhaps your subconscious communicated with your higher self, and then the higher self opens doors in ways that cannot be easily explained. There should be something, some period, some time, some point in life where this started. If you were able to look back, you realize that what looks like unconscious transformation actually is the opening up of a door which you had been looking at and which you had forgotten in some past. Yes. So that now would be perhaps a difference between spiritual transformation, if you want to talk about it, and intellectual transformation, a process where you take deliberate steps. Spiritual transformation means that you have questions, you don't get answers, you struggle with them, they recede until somehow your higher self opens up and then shows you doors. But what I would call intellectual transformation is a process of making choices and following them through. If, for instance, you say, I am going to be eating fruits every day. Supposing you're a person who likes meat, burger, or things like that, and then you say, what would happen if I started eating fruits? And then you turn into a monkey or some other primate which doesn't eat cooked food, and then you start and you say, let me try it a week. Initially, it can be difficult. The first 2 days can be difficult, but then you keep on, you insist. When you insist, and along the way, eating fruits becomes a habit, or playing football, if you didn't play football, you start playing football, then along the way it becomes a habit, and you find you can't leave it. And then you realize it is positive, there are benefits, then you enjoy them, then you carry on. It means that that process was intellectual. It was deliberate, you were in charge of it, you were following through. But if all of a sudden now I woke up and I find that I can speak 12 languages which I didn't know, I would consider myself transformed, but I would not have undertaken a deliberate process of learning these languages.
So now there exactly is where I want to investigate. Is there such an experience where maybe someone can undergo